Hey guys, Perry here, with another video covering the Occult Crescent South Horn. In my last video, I covered the random overworld chests that you can find spawned around the island, and the rules that govern them. Today's video will cover the other types of chests on the island, the ones spawned by the special pot fates and fortune carrots. Let's dive in. During your adventures on the island, you've probably encountered at least one of these chest variants, most likely the persistent pots version, so we'll cover those chests first. So, what are persistent pot chests and how do we get them? Occasionally, you may have noticed a special fate appear on the map. It looks like this, blue colored instead of the normal purple. These fates include a number of enemies attacking some small angry demons that live inside little pots, called persistent pots. Upon clearing the fate, you may receive a buff called Cash Me If You Can, which is the buff needed to collect a pot chest. This buff is given to 20 random players who complete the fate with a gold rating. If you don't receive a gold rating, you won't get the buff. And if there's more than 20 people participating, there's also a chance that you won't receive it. Who receives this buff is completely random. As long as you receive a gold rating, nothing else you do will affect your chances of receiving it. The buff is indicated by this symbol, and you'll notice that you now have a persistent pot following you around, as well as a new key item called Magical Elixir. If you've spent some time in Eureka zones doing the bunny fates, this will look familiar. By using the item, you'll receive a message directing you to a location on the map. Once you've reached the location, when you use the item, a treasure chest will appear, which you may then open for some loot. There are 3 tiers of chests you can find this way: bronze, silver, and gold, with gold being the highest value. These chests have varying loot tables depending on the chest tier. You can find a link to the loot tables in the video description below. Additionally, each chest tier has a fixed amount of enlightenment gold and silver that they give. The base value for bronze is 100 silver and 160 gold pieces. Silver chests are worth 3 times that, making 300 silver and 480 gold, and gold chests are worth 10 times the amount as bronze, 1,000 silver and 1,600 gold pieces. So, let's get into the details on these. There are 2 available pot fates you can complete in the South Horn, located at the spots shown here. We have a north pot fate called Persistent Pots, and a south pot fate called Pleading Pots. These fates spawn on set timers. There's no spawning condition and no way to speed the timers up. The timers work like this. North pot fate is always the one with the chasing animals followed by the Garula, and it will spawn exactly 10 minutes after a new instance is created. 30 minutes later, the south pots will spawn, a total of 40 minutes after the instance is made. This one is always the one with the Cries of Havoc followed by the Havoc mob. Both fates have a respawn timer of 1 hour, essentially creating a 30-minute timer between spawns with the 2 locations alternating. Each fate also has a limited number of locations that its pots can bring you to. Here's a pair of maps showing the possible locations for each fate. Big thanks to Celery from the Field Ops Enjoyers Discord for providing this data to me. You can find a link to these references in the video description. In total, there are 30 possible spots for each fate, and if you use the resources included on the maps, you can narrow down the spots very quickly. In addition to the locations shown here, when you open your pot chest, there is a chance, around 10%, that the pot stays and offers you another chest. These extra chests will spawn in a new location and will always be gold chests, the highest tier. Rerolled chests also have a fixed set of possible spawn locations, shown here. You can find this map included in the link in the video description as well. If you're an achievement hunter like me, you're probably already aware of the massive 1,000 pot chest achievement that arrived with the South Horn. Unfortunately, there aren't very many easy ways to speed things up here. My personal recommendation is to spend time in the zone when you're doing other things like watching Netflix or working. Park yourself at the fate locations and just take short breaks when they spawn to do them quickly. This is very low effort and will add up over time, but will limit you to the 1 per 30 minutes limit. If you really want to speed things up, if you're able to get a fresh instance, there is only a 10-minute wait on the North Fate timer. And with the latest changes to the Fork Tower, a group of 24 or more players will automatically generate a new instance. This means that if you can find enough pot fate hunters, it's possible to keep re-instancing and lower your spawn time to 10 minutes each. Alternatively, another thing I've seen hunters do is take advantage of data center travel. Oftentimes at low traffic periods of the day, there's only 1 active instance on each of North America's 4 data centers. If these instances were made at staggered times, it's possible to get the fate on one data center and then travel to another and join to snag that one, and so on. This relies a bit on some things out of our control and won't always work out, but theoretically, you can get up to 4 pot fates per half hour if you're lucky. For other regions outside of NA, obviously the limits will be different, but the concept should still apply. Whichever method you choose, this one is going to be a grind in this zone, so be prepared. That said, it's worth a reminder that from the way the achievement is worded, pots are likely to make a return in the North Horn when it's released in 7.5, so there's a chance things get easier in the future. And that pretty much covers all the information about the pot fates. Now let's move on to the bunnies. The evil, evil bunnies. Okay, maybe it's not the bunnies' fault, but between the two types of chests, achievement hunters will find this one significantly more difficult right now. So, here's the scoop. Around the South Horn, you can find half-eaten carrots on the ground. They're pretty noticeable since they glow, but they aren't very big and sometimes are in hidden places, so it's possible to have never come across one ever just doing the fates and critical encounters. Using a fortune carrot while standing on one of these will consume the carrot, cause the one on the ground to respawn elsewhere, and spawn a chest for you to open. These chests are kind of like super versions of the gold chests in the pot fates. They have a lot of the same rewards in their loot table, but they give an increased amount of gil, going up to 200,000. So the questions are then, where can we find these half-eaten carrots, and how do we get fortune carrots? Thankfully, the first part is pretty easy. Here's a map of all known carrot spawn locations. Credit to the Field Ops Enjoyers Discord. At any given time, there are 2 active carrots on the field, and they can occupy all the same locations. The carrots can even be active on the same location, and it's also possible for a carrot to immediately respawn at the same location if you're lucky. The second part is the more difficult part. Fortune carrots are currently still quite rare. If you watched my guide on the Overworld treasure, you might remember me mentioning that they only drop from the Overworld bronze chests and not silvers. In addition to those bronze chests, as of patch 7.3, pot fate chests and ironically bunny chests themselves also have a low chance to drop them. The drop rate is around 1% for bronze overworld chests, and it's close to that for gold pot and bunny chests, but gets lower as the chests get lower in rarity. Once again, if you're interested in the details, you can find a link to the loot tables in the video description. The saving grace for would-be carrot collectors is that they are purchasable on the market board. However, with how rare they are and the achievement's incredible demand volume, they've become very expensive, and unless something changes, the price is only going to go up from here. Right now, there isn't really any efficient way to collect these without spending enormous amounts of gil. Similar to the pots, however, it seems likely that the Happy Bunny chests will make a return in 7.5 on the North Horn, so all hope isn't lost. I think it's likely we will see a more efficient way to become bunny blessed once that content is released. In the end, collecting the carrots is definitely the hard part for farming out this achievement. Once you've got a stockpile, simply use the map to visit the spawns until you've used them up. I recommend choosing a low population data center if you can, to try and minimize interference by other carrot hunters. One other option, if you have a large enough group of players, is to assign carrot spawns to everyone and simply bounce the carrots around the map. It's difficult to find enough people to do this with though, so I don't think it's viable for most. And that just about wraps it up. I hope you found this informational for how these two systems in the South Horn work. And as usual, feel free to let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.